You've got a to-do list. You know exactly what needs to get done, and you're sitting there staring at it, doing absolutely nothing. You open your phone, you close it, you open it again, you tell yourself you'll start in 10 minutes. That was an hour ago. This feeling has a name. We call it a lack of motivation, and we treat it like a personal failure, like something is broken inside you. But here's what nobody tells you. For 300,000 years, humans never experienced this. Not once, not because they were stronger or more disciplined or built differently, but because the world they lived in made motivation completely unnecessary. Let's start with what motivation actually is. Psychologists define it as the internal drive to initiate and sustain goal-directed behavior. In other words, it's the bridge between knowing what you need to do and actually doing it. And the reason that bridge exists is because in the modern world, there's a gap between action and consequence. You know you should work on the report, but if you don't, nothing happens immediately. No predator appears, no one goes hungry tonight. The consequence is distant, abstract, buried somewhere in next quarter's performance review. Your brain evolved over millions of years to respond to immediate, concrete feedback. When consequences are delayed, it stalls. That's not laziness, that's hardware running in the wrong environment. Now go back 100,000 years. You wake up at dawn, you're hungry. Not the mild inconvenience of skipping breakfast, hungry. Genuinely hungry, the kind that sharpens your senses and pulls your attention toward one single thing. Food. There's no debate about whether you feel like foraging today. There's no negotiating with yourself about starting tomorrow. The consequence of inaction is immediate and visceral. You move because not moving has a cost you can feel right now. Motivation as a concept never had to exist because action was never optional. The environment did the motivating every single day. But it wasn't just hunger. The entire structure of ancient human life was built around what psychologists now call intrinsic motivation loops, small actions with immediate visible results. You sharpen a spear. It becomes sharper. You can see it, feel it, test it against your thumb. The feedback is instant. You weave a basket. Row by row, it becomes something. You track an animal through the forest. Every broken twig, every disturbed patch of dirt, every fresh print tells you you're getting closer. The task itself generates the pull to continue. There's no willpower required because the work rewards you as you do it, not 3 weeks later when someone approves your timesheet. Anthropologist Mihaly Csikszentmihalyi spent decades studying what he called flow states, that condition where you're so absorbed in what you're doing that time dissolves and effort feels effortless. He found it happens consistently under two conditions. The task must be challenging enough to require skill, but not so difficult it becomes overwhelming, and feedback must be immediate. You need to know in real time whether you're succeeding or failing. Ancient human life hit both conditions constantly. Tracking prey required genuine skill that took years to develop. The feedback was continuous. You're reading the landscape correctly, or you're not. The animal is getting closer, or it isn't. Flow wasn't a rare optimal experience for ancient humans. It was the default mode of being alive. Here's where it gets harder to sit with. Modern work was specifically designed to break both of those conditions. Frederick Winslow Taylor, the father of scientific management, spent the early 1900s systematically removing skill and feedback from labor. He broke complex jobs into isolated, repetitive tasks. He separated the person doing the work from the person understanding the work. He created systems where individuals couldn't see or measure their contribution to the whole. His explicit goal was efficiency. His actual achievement was surgically removing every psychological condition that makes work feel worth doing. We built an entire economic system on his principles. Then we invented the self-help industry to sell motivation back to the people we took it from. Now let's talk about the social layer, because this is the part modern productivity culture completely ignores. Ancient humans were never working alone. The hunt involved coordination. The camp involved shared labor. Making tools happened alongside other people making tools. Your effort was visible in real time to the people whose opinion mattered most to you. Not a manager you see twice a year for a performance review. The people you ate with, slept near, relied on to keep you alive. Social visibility is one of the most powerful behavioral regulators humans have. When the people you care about can see you working, you work. When they can see you contributing, you contribute. Remote work, isolated office cubicles, working from a bedroom with the door closed. These strip away the social architecture that made effort feel natural and replace it with nothing. There's a study from 2016 by Priyanka Carr and Gregory Walton at Stanford. Participants worked on a difficult puzzle. One group worked completely alone. The other group was told they were working on the same puzzle as other people nearby, even though they never interacted. That second group worked 64% longer, reported higher interest in the task, and said they were less tired despite doing more work. They weren't actually together. They just believed they were part of something shared. That feeling alone was enough to change everything. Ancient humans didn't need that study. They lived inside that condition every hour of every day. But here's the piece that cuts deepest. Ancient humans had something modern life has almost entirely destroyed. A direct line between their effort and their survival. You made a better spear, you ate better. You learned to read animal tracks, your family was safer. You developed skill at starting fire, the group trusted you more. Every action had a traceable path to something real and immediate. Your effort meant something you could see and touch and taste. Modern work severs that line almost completely. You send emails that generate responses, that feed into processes, that contribute to metrics, that influence the decisions made by people you've never met, that may or may not affect your salary in 6 months. The human brain cannot generate sustained drive toward a consequence that abstract. It was never built to. So when you sit there staring at your to-do list, unable to start, here is what is actually happening. Your brain is operating exactly as designed. It's scanning for immediate consequences and finding none. It's looking for real-time feedback and finding a blank screen. It's searching for social visibility and finding an empty room. It's trying to connect effort to outcome and hitting a wall of abstraction. Every single signal that evolved over 300,000 years to initiate action is absent. And you're calling yourself lazy. The ancient human didn't need discipline because the structure of their world provided everything the brain needs to act. The modern human has to manufacture through sheer willpower what used to be delivered automatically by the environment. We built a world of comfort and convenience, and in doing so, we quietly dismantled every natural trigger for motivation that evolution spent hundreds of thousands of years installing. Then we sell each other books about atomic habits and 5 a.m. routines as if the problem is personal failure rather than structural mismatch. There is no ancient word for procrastination. Not because ancient humans were more virtuous, because the conditions that produce procrastination didn't exist. When the consequence of inaction is immediate, when feedback is real, when others can see your effort, when the result of your work feeds directly into your survival, you don't procrastinate, you just live. The motivation was never supposed to come from inside you, it was supposed to come from the world around you. We changed the world. We forgot to account for what we removed. And now 7 billion people sit staring at screens wondering why they can't make themselves do things they know they should do. The answer isn't discipline. The answer isn't a better morning routine. The answer is that you are a 300,000-year-old piece of biological hardware running in an environment it was never designed for. And given that, the fact that you function at all is honestly remarkable.